All right, we have people joining. Welcome, everyone. We're so happy to have you. If you could start by dropping your name in the chat, that'd be great if we can start warming the chat up. So I'll start over here. I'm Shauntle, and I'm coming to you live from New York. Welcome, everyone. We have people rolling in here. We'll get started in a few minutes. In the meantime, please introduce yourself in the chat. Matt from Florida, Nicholas from Naples. Hello, Akash from San Francisco. Keep it coming. Kurt from Arizona. Hello. Wow, Tina from the French Riviera. Let's go there. Hello, everyone. We're going to give it about one more minute before we get started. Welcome. Please introduce yourself in the chat if you haven't already. It's great to see everyone. All right, should we get started? Awesome. Well, welcome everyone. It's so great to have you. We're talking with Upland with Matt at Upland today about how they engage qualified leads instantaneously. A quick round of introductions. I'm Shauntle. I was an early Storylane customer and I recently joined the go-to-market team at Storylane. So very excited to be here. Akash, over to you. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you for kicking this off, Shauntle. My name is Akash Bansal. I'm the co-founder of Storylane, and we let sales and marketing teams create and share interactive demos with their buyers and prospects. We have grown to over 750 customers in the last 3 years, and some of you are here, by the way. So warm welcome to all of you, and excited to be kicking off the second webinar with a good friend, Matt from Upland.
Thanks, Akash. Hey, everybody. Matt Weisberg here, Director of Solution Consulting at Upland Software for the Altify business unit. And what we do is we help mid-market and enterprise teams improve the way they do CRM and bringing customers to the forefront in a very customer-centric and people-focused way. And I'm excited to be here and talk about my experience with Akash and team. It's been fantastic.
Can you share your disclaimer real quick before we dive into the content?
Yeah, absolutely. So just before I jump in, or before anybody jumps in, just note Upland is a publicly traded entity, so nobody should make any investment or purchasing decisions based on what they hear here today. Although we will not be sharing any non-public material information, it's still important to note that this is simply to talk about our experience and not to talk about revenue or anything like that.
Thanks. Yeah. So today we are going to be talking about interactive demo software, which Storylane is, and how it accelerates sales, right? And Matt likes to say this as acceleration of customer journey because, well, that empathy is what actually shows up when you say it's customer journey. I was talking to Matt yesterday and he said, yeah, customer journey it is. Huge impacts with it. Well, first it drives more revenue, right? And starts to bring in organizational and operational efficiencies when you start to share these demos with your buyers. And then finally, you as a pre-sales and a solution engineering leader, you start to feel like an absolute legend to your company leadership. So with those three things, I think Upland has seen a huge impact with Storylane. So maybe we can start off with Matt talking about what actually how you work with sales, what is the role of solution engineering at Upland, and how do you guys play a role there?
Yeah, sure. First of all, it's probably worth noting that Upland is a larger company. We have 31 different softwares within the Upland suite. I specifically focus on one business unit, which is called Altify, where we have a few different softwares, all of which are Salesforce partners, Salesforce ISVs, which simply means we work 100% and exclusively inside of the Salesforce platform. But anyway, the way that we engage our customers and the way we partner with AEs and direct sales reps, inside sales reps and BDRs, is we serve partially a supporting function, and then also, of course, a business and technical consulting function to work through the customer's journey to ensure that we get the best possible discovery and understand what the customers are going through, how we can possibly help them, if we can possibly help them, and then we go further as to sometimes design custom solutions and help to implement them after that.
Yeah, so actually, as solution engineering team, when you start to work with customers, I think there are three primary angles that you take. And Shauntle, if you can go to the slide which talks about the way we look at this, right? Top of funnel, right? How when customers are or prospects are touching Upland and Altify the very first time, mid funnel and bottom of the funnel, right? So, and top of funnel is essentially around like how you deliver content to them and demos to them quickly enough so that they're able to just watch it and see it for themselves, the benefits of the Altify software. So, Matt, what we can do is actually you have used Storylane across the three stages of the funnel as you warmed up to Storylane, and it's exciting to see how you have been able to deliver value there. So let's start off with like how you have used Storylane top of funnel to start driving like visitor and customer interest.
Yeah, sure. So absolutely. I think it actually comes along with a story about the way we met, right? So the way we got engaged, so to speak, with Storylane was one kind of a situation that you may not expect off the bat. It's that we really needed a great kiosk experience for a live event we were doing. And Storylane maybe doesn't even put this as one of the functionalities on their website, and yet it turns out to be one of the most perfect solutions I could imagine for it. So, and this story is worth telling because, well, I just had one of the best experiences of my procurement life, especially in enterprise B2B SaaS. When giving a call and speaking with Akash and team, and when telling them I really need this, telling them my pains, so to speak, this is exactly what I needed. I was on my way to this conference in Louisiana, and I was on the phone with Akash in the airport, just about to jump on an airplane. By the time I had finished my flight, an hour and a half later, the software had actually changed based on my ask and was then available to be used inside of Salesforce, whereas before it actually wasn't. Most softwares aren't, because there's complexity behind how the software platform works. Anyway, Akash and team figured it out pretty quickly, and it worked perfectly. I did an all-nighter and pulled together a really cool demo that would restart itself like a kiosk, and was able to be a great vendor and help people out in understanding how we could provide value for them at an account management conference, which is where we were live, while also allowing people to control their own destiny as they clicked through what seemed like our app without all of the effort on my part of having to reset everything, because Storylane is wonderfully automated in that way.
Yeah, I still remember actually you were calling me through the weekend, and here I was like selecting furniture for a new home and I was taking these calls, and you had these wonderful ideas. Okay, Akash, how do I actually just bring in my Marketo based personalization through merged fields? And then also, how do I start auto playing Storylane so that in the backdrop, it can just continue to roll as a demo, right? Or even on my iPads where anybody who's coming up to my booth is able to just send Storylane. And then the third aspect of it, which you touched really well, was how like Upland software and Altify embeds itself as a Salesforce application. And there is challenges with iframe embeds, being able to edit those, personalize those automatically, and how the team quickly turned around, right? In terms of like over the weekend, just pushing new releases to make it work for you.
Yeah, and I think it's really worth noting that this is before I paid 1 cent to Akash or team. And maybe that's, I don't know how people might take that, but the way I took it from a customer's point of view was these guys really want to help me. And I couldn't get enough of Storylane thereafter, after actually having the fantastic experience when I had no good plans to make it a good experience for the people at that conference. within a few hours of working with Akash, we had something to use that I knew would work. And then, pulling an all-nighter myself, sadly. It doesn't actually take that long to build it out, but I wanted to make sure I got it right. It was my first time using the software. I got guidance from Akash. I went to work, and by the morning that the conference began, it was up and running. And it's just so important to note that we spoke about empathy already, right? Early. I mean, this is like before qualification, perhaps, or just around a qualification mark. And Akash's sales team is on the phone with me over the weekend, and his engineering team is helping me win. And so I just think that speaks to the level of empathy they have, the level of go get it, like, and ambition. The team is, and also quality. I mean, incredibly well-built application through and through, and it's been that way and continues to be that way. So just can't speak enough of the quality and that experience and beyond.
Yeah, and then actually you were telling me how to sell as well, right? Meaning knowing how you saw the software, how it could change people's lives, as in buyers, and even solution engineering. It was a huge one. So perhaps actually we can go into the demos you created, Matt, at this point, and then also talk about the second use case, right, where you were able to deliver demos instantaneously to customers.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen as soon as I can. Prefacing this use case here, what we're about to see is the end goal, or the end game here, so to speak, of what we were aiming to achieve. So what we were aiming to achieve when we first started this initiative, if you will, was actually about operational efficiency. I walked in the door as a leader here at Upland with one of my solutions consultants almost completely being dedicated to a manual process of generating trial orgs. And if you know much about Salesforce, you'll understand why. It's time consuming and not such a great experience on the back end. But for the customer, it was much worse. The customer would come to our website, something like this. They click the button to get a demo, and they would wait 48 hours or more, depending, right? Customers come in all the time, weekends, holidays, etc. And my solution consultant wasn't there, right? I mean, people have to sleep, people have to eat, people have to take breaks and have holidays, etc. So it was terrible. And of course, that affected our marketing qualification levels, our conversion. People were having terrible experiences, or just never even seeing the trial, mostly because they got the email 3 days later and forgot about it, right? So what I wanted to do was to, first of all, in an operational efficiency manner, get rid of that process altogether. And my initial plan was to use RPA, robotic process automation. And we were down to the line here. And so this is all right around that same time as this conference that I'm talking about, when I didn't realize that Storylane was going to actually work for this. I just needed something for this kiosk. And as soon as I experienced it with the kiosk bit, I came home and put the kibosh, is that a word? I put the caboose, I don't know that word, I'm sorry. I said no more RPA, and this was a huge risk as a brand new director and in a position. I had a lot of risk on the table by taking what was a basically finished project of putting RPA in progress and putting it into the cloud and making it work, spending all this money to do so, and saying no, Storylane is it. Because it's going to be way more efficient, and it's also going to end up saving us money in the long run. And that's exactly what we did. So we built the demo that you see here. So if I click view interactive demo, it leads us here. So I'm actually on my website right now, right? This is uplandsoftware.com. You feel free to come here. By the way, we sell multiple pieces of software, but no matter where you are, if you're a CRM, Salesforce CRM customer, this is what you need, because it brings all the contacts into one place and helps you understand them at a really deep level, talking about people and customer centricity. This is what it's all about. What we needed to do, obviously, when people requested a trial, was allow them to do so, allow them to get the trial. So we went from 48 plus hours, and that's being pretty conservative, 48 plus hours wait time, speed to lead, for that delivery of that trial org, to instant. Literally takes 2 to 3 seconds for me to get from that form, which I just filled out, or that button I just clicked, to here. And all of a sudden I'm here on the website. I haven't even logged in. I'm not in Salesforce, so I'm not waiting for an email, although I also get an email, right? There's triggers and all these, lots of great integrations to be spoken about, but we won't go too deep on that. And here I am, I'm learning about this software. And it's speaking to me based on my answers on that form, right? So personalized, nice walkthrough, and then, yeah, very feature focused in this case, because we want to make sure that people understand we have the basics that you need. But of course, Storylane is one of the best ways to also tell stories that work. And this is what we put in place. Since then, it's been, let's just say, a really fantastic marketing experience. And we've gone much beyond this demo here. We have Storylane demos across our website.
Yeah, and I love how actually in these guides, interactive guides, in some of your demos, you're also able to essentially tell a story of those customers, as in a day of life of your customer, how they would start to use Altify and how it would benefit them. And that's one of the things that I've seen, right? Where our customers, if they're putting those stories together in a way that it relates to their customers, they see a much higher engagement to their Storyline demos.
Absolutely true. I believe very, very strongly in being able to tell a story, hopefully that will resonate. And that's one of the beauties of Storylane being as good as it is and having the integrations it has, is we can actually build more than one demo, more than one version of pages, etc. We can merge in custom fields and default fields, if you will, to make it personalized and to make it resonate easily. And we'll actually get into that in a few moments when we talk about our mid-funnel use cases. But Akash, did you have anything else you wanted to speak about on this?
Yeah, no, that's great. And actually,
I have
this
one
is a
more.
good,
Can I
yeah.
ask a
Go
question?
for it. Yeah.
I loved the way that you described how this has changed the inside sales process for you. So like, obviously the experience for the customer or the prospect initially, it was very slow. Now it's a lot faster, but then what happens after that is also better because the inside sales team has a better sense of the type of engagement that prospect has had.
That's an awesome point. And it is something that's real, right? Because Storylane has granular analytics for every single story that's published. What you'll be able to do and what our team does is when we see somebody come in through this form or through any of these forms, when our BDR or anybody, whoever's responsible for reaching out to that person, sometimes we have AEs reaching out, sometimes direct sales or inside sales. In any case, whenever we have a person reaching out to that person, they will have all of that information in front of them first, knowing that this person got all the way through the demo, they're eating it up. This is a warm plus lead, right? We can qualify this person pretty easily, and they can change the way that they can change their tune, they can change their sentiment, they can change the words that they're saying in their script based completely on how far along did they get in this demo, where did they stop, why did they stop, or maybe that's a question they need to ask in initial discovery. So in any case, it makes the job a lot easier for everybody when we know how they did through the trial, which was absolutely impossible, by the way, in the before state when we were using a Salesforce org with no analytics.
And all in the system that they mostly live in, which is Salesforce, right? Being able to gather that analytics off there as well, and just being able to just drive more conversations and seeing those engagements there.
Yeah, well, I think the one of the problems with the old state was that we would have to go in manually to each org that was provisioned for the trial, and then grab that data and then put it somewhere else, and it was just a mess. So now we have one place. Storylane holds all of our trial, so to speak, all of our trial experiences and every single step they take, how long they spend, and the works that you might need to make a great phone call and to really qualify an opportunity and move it forward.
But let's hop into the mid funnel then. You did already mention it, and this is demos for sales to share with prospects as part of the sales process, right? So
absolutely.
So out there,
yeah, it's worth continuing on down this customer journey, right? So we get people into the funnel pretty easy by allowing them a really low friction, almost no friction experience where they don't even. You saw before we had one form that's at the very beginning, which we need to use because if they're not using Salesforce CRM, because we're a Salesforce exclusive product, you have to ask them these questions. But beyond that, we're giving them a full-on experience, and they get to choose whether or not they're going to opt in. Give us their email address, for example. So this is an example of that, and that's top funnel or mid funnel. As you can see here, what does it say? Skip, right? So I can story.
I love it.
Yeah, you like that? Yeah, I come with Storylane. Do something that marketers would never dream of doing a year ago or 2 years ago. I know this because I've been around a lot of marketers. They would never dream of putting a skip button by the opt-in, right? Or by whatever you might call it, but the consent, right? We want to make sure that we capture as much information as we can, but at the end of the day, if the person doesn't like what they're experiencing, you shouldn't have their email. It's going to be a waste of your resources. And so I take that wholeheartedly and make sure that we always allow them to tell us when they're ready. And so we put multiple ways for them to be able to opt in when they're ready. Now, when we're able to actually do what we just talked about on the front of the funnel and go to mid funnel, my team comes in and the AEs come in. We have two different types of mid funnel templates, we call them, right? We have a Storylane that's high level and utilizes merge fields. So you can see up here how it says your company, right? I think in just a few moments ago, you saw another merge field. This particular template is used and when is used in such a way where the AEs are able to basically walk through like we're doing here in a completely guided way, or a DSR or even a BDR, if a person wants to get on a call right away, which often happens, they can, without a lot of training or really any training at all, just click right into this. This is a demo, and they can walk through and give details beyond what it says here. So giving somebody a fully immersive demo, which it also happens to look and feel amazing. I mean, I'm in Salesforce here. It's incredible, but I'm not, right? I'm on my website or I'm in Storylane. In any case, this works wonderful for getting a qualified prospect into the next level where we start doing deep discovery and we get into the deep personalization. And that's where the second template comes in. My team uses that as follow-up for our solutions calls. So we get on that second call, we do a big deep dive demo based on the first call, which is what we're looking at here. And after that, we follow up typically with a personalized Storylane that speaks to their discovery. So we find out that their pains were X, Y, and Z. We send a Storylane that speaks to X, Y, and Z. And that in this way, the person is able to share it across their organization, up and down to the sides, or whoever needs to see it. If they like it, they will share it. And because it's asynchronous, right, you can experience this demo anytime you want just by clicking into the link. Because of that, it becomes a shareable and immersive experience, which is more novel than I think it sounds. It's just extremely useful and has been for us in particular. So those are the two ways. Realistically, we do use it more. We use it way too many ways. I mean, I find as many use cases for Storylane as possible, but those are the two major ways we use it in the mid funnel. Our AEs and BDRs use it in order to get people a quick and easy personalized looking demo, right? Their company name will be there, their logo will be there, all merged in. They don't have to do any work to do it. And then my team uses it to follow up with really detailed Storylanes thereafter.
What I hadn't thought about, it's like when we initially talked about this, the acceleration was because it was faster to make the demos and faster to train the AEs and all of this stuff. But I didn't even consider the fact that you also don't have to wrangle like 7 people's calendars and try to find time when everyone's free. You know what I mean? Like that alone can take 2 weeks and just like slow down the sales process.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point. And that actually brings us to the third step, right? The later funnel where we get to the point of we're going to close the deal, or even after the deal is closed, where now we want to provide success and training and support. But we use Storylane in a very specific way. We use it to do pilots and proof of concepts, right? And so speaking to that, right? If anybody's ever done this and tried to put together a proof of concept, it is practically impossible to get everybody on that call in these 3 teams. Now, for us, these are our persona. We have sellers, we have sales leaders, and we have rev ops or sales ops people. So these are more technical people. Having these all 3 of these persona on the same call, typically across 6 or more people, because you want multiple insights from multiple people, is very hard. And even when it happens, we noted that the POCs were often less successful. Why? Because the RevOps people weren't getting it, right? We're not speaking to them. We're not speaking to anybody here because we have 3 completely different personas who care about completely different things. Whereas when we send a Storylane that has separate but very, concretely different, like delineated paths to take, my sellers go here and they go through the seller experience. Everything speaks to them. And that's one of the reasons why Storylane is beautiful. And this product tour is more than you might expect. Again, totally configurable in the sense that, all of the account names can change. You can utilize the company name, and that's exactly what we do. So we send this out. It resonates with them from a company level. And then each one of their user types, right? Their actual ICs, their leadership, and their RevOps and enablement people get their own experiences and training, such that with a POC, usually you have to come up with a kind of a semi-contract to say, if we can cover these few things, you'll buy it. You'll buy our solution. This is usually 90% of the way, even though it's a Storylane, right? And so that's not the detriment what Storylane is, but Storylane is essentially a demo, not the full application. And yet, if we do it purposefully and we really, really figure out who are the persona and speak to these different persona, right? Sales leadership loves that dashboards. Here we are in a dashboard, right? If you do this right, people like it. People like what they see and they sign off much more quickly. So yeah, lots of efficiency here and effectiveness as well.
And around POCs, actually, it's a hard nut because you are having to configure an instance for your customer. You really have to get them in there and then also coach them on the use of the software. And here they have primarily a good guided path and being able to know how the product is able to really make a difference to their lives. Yeah.
Absolutely. And one of the coolest things is, like I said before, we give them options, right? So if you give them optionality to go ahead and skip ahead and actually go to the Salesforce org, which we have live for them as well. We can offer that at any point. We can have 2 buttons, one on every single, on every single one of these modals you see here. This could be a button that says book now or book a demo, right? And so we can always give them the optionality of giving us more information. This is a later stage thing, so maybe book a demo wouldn't be the call to action, but some other call to action that would help us move the deal forward and understand that we're good here, or maybe support. They have a question. We can actually integrate this with Salesforce or another service platform. And then we don't do this today, but we probably should. This might be an idea. They click this button and all of a sudden somebody gets a ring, in their service console, and all of a sudden we're helping them out, right? So this is just another great example of Storylane at work with its integrations.
I like how you actually come up with the ideas as you go through this, right? You're always so full of ideas.
It's all ad hoc, man.
Wonders for this relationship, yeah. So you had actually one of those guides also had a login to an actual instance, right? So potentially people can, if they really wanted to get into the software and just experience it for themselves, at some point you are able to provide them those credentials, and then those small percentage of users are able to get in there, right? So besides the Storylane, they just see the software for themselves.
Exactly. I mean, Storylane in this particular case, at this point in the journey, acts as a program, right? A proof of concept or pilot program, and gives us structure and training to get people primed to get into that org. But truth of the matter is, if you're talking to salespeople, do you really think they're going to take the time to go and log into a Salesforce org and create a password and then go find all the things they're supposed to find based on the guide you gave them on the POC document? No way. I don't do that either, right? I want something quick and easy. I sign in, I click over. I didn't do anything. I'm a seller. I'm in. Show me. That's it, man. I'm in. I don't need to see anything more than this. I know. I'm ready to go. This is great. Right?
Anytime I have to read a help doc to do something, I'm like, it's over.
Yeah.
That's an exaggeration, but I agree.
We're post documentation in
Yeah.
the Gen Z age, or whatever you want to call this,
Yeah.
the age of AI. And I can't say I'm not going to speak for the roadmap because I have no idea, but I could say that the way that I see it, this is perhaps one of the most possibly AI ready non-CRM or CRM like applications, which can have an effect on your entire customer journey in both efficiency and effectiveness. It's a huge amount of potential here for any organization.
So, so as you go through this product tour, right, the different personas, as you explained, they can be distributing this across their entire organization, and then people would be coming in, and based on what their role is, they would just go through the specific flow that helps them understand how the software is able to bring value to them, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So if you can go back to the slide actually that we had, the top of the funnel, the mid funnel. So So we covered all the three major use cases, right? Here that Matt has been able to use it for.
Yes. Can you see my screen?
So
Yes.
yeah. So actually, yeah, back to just like how the customer journey is proceeding, right? Right from the top of the funnel when visitors are getting just introduced to the products, all the way to when they are in the decision-making phase. Right? Really just deploying Storylane for those hyper-personalized demos. That's what Storylane is all about, right? So in terms of, Matt, in terms of like the amount of like savings that you have had, like your teams have had, meaning what are some of the challenges that you were facing earlier, and how has Storylane changed the way the team operates now?
Sure. Well, I can speak to one metric which blows my mind every time I think about it. 149,000% less time for speed to lead. That's first, right? So, and then we spoke about that at the beginning. Our customers used to wait 48 plus hours. Now they wait 3 seconds, right? But they get a very similar, if not better experience, more guided, less time to get it together, and still the ability to sign up and go deeper and still get a demo with a live person and still go beyond that, right? So Storylane isn't a replacement, but it's an enhancement to pretty much every part of the customer journey in some way, if you have the need to use something like that. Another way that it affects like specific metrics that I'm allowed to talk about, the actual amount of time that I personally spend on a day-to-day basis doing solutions consulting design, which is just pre-architecture, right? Is a lot lower because I'm able to refer to past Storylanes. I can quickly clone them, and instead of having to build a brand new Salesforce org from scratch and configure it, which it could take 4, 5, 6 hours, depending on what I'm doing. Instead, I can kind of give the gist of whatever I'm prototyping or whatever I'm solutioning for, and then demo that to the customer in a matter of 40 minutes instead of 4 hours, right? So huge reduction in the amount of time for me to go from idea to presentable design. And on the back end of the funnel, let's just say I know that this is being considered for use in our knowledge base, which let's just say that the knowledge base that is mostly used everywhere, almost everywhere, being mostly words, is bad. And most people prefer to click and to actually visualize it, but also don't need a video necessarily. And so Storylane is just a perfect way to save the customer time, more importantly. And this is post-sale, right? It's that experience they have after they buy, when they really determine if they're going to come back around and expand or retain your services. So
yeah, goes back to like nobody has time for reading documentation, right? They would rather be in the software and see for themselves. And actually, yeah, one of the questions we had is what happens to the freed bandwidth of solution engineers, and you already touched on it, right? In how many different ways now you're able to impact the customer journey by really engaging with them deeply instead of like just being very busy just customizing a demo for them.
Yeah, and for the AEs, I'd say I haven't done a survey yet, so I probably should do that, but not specifically. I just have heard multiple times that, oh, thank goodness you have this, because usually AEs have to wait for us to build it for them. And I guess I'm automating myself out of a job here in some way. But when an AE comes to me and says, hey, I have this customer, I want to give them a demo, can you configure this Salesforce org for me by tomorrow? That's like the worst nightmare for an SC. It's something we go through every day. But now we say, sure, click here and click there, and they're good. They just put the company name in, the logo in the merge field, and all of a sudden they have a personalized walkthrough for tomorrow's demo. And I can't imagine, I don't know how much actual time that is, but it's massive. It's massive for my team and for them.
Yeah, actually allows you to just build good relationships and understand the real pain points and talk through those. I think that's where your skills and come in really handy. So one question that we keep getting asked a lot, Matt, is like if you're sending demos and giving customers a choice to just go through those themselves, right? do you see a challenge there where without having to talk to you, they will make judgments on the product and really like just step out and not talk to you, or perhaps go further into the funnel? How do you address that internally and for yourself?
So it's not been obtrusive. Maybe that's not the word. It hasn't been like to the point. I think it's saved us enough time to make our jobs better, to make us better at our jobs, and to make our jobs more enjoyable, because it removes tediousness. Whereas, and that's one of the worst parts of most jobs. Some people love tediousness because it lets them zoom out, like kind of zone out, and I do too on occasion. But when I have to do the same sorts of things every day and no creativity involved, I have to build something that I've built 100 times before over and over again. That's where I get upset. And the emotional value of somebody not feeling like that is huge. So I don't know if it could be quantified, but helping the team to avoid that has been much more of a push forward than a drawback, because customers are engaging us less, right? Directly. Oftentimes, customers who do engage with Storylane will still engage us more often than they used to, because they're getting a really quick gist of, generally, this is what I need. And then they do want to talk to somebody. But if you don't allow a customer to see something and touch something, oftentimes they won't want to speak to you about it. And I think a perfect example of this, like, is in the food industry, right? There's why, when you walk through Costco, do they give you little mini hot dogs every time you walk through Costco? Why? Because they know they're good, right? These are great hot dogs. And if you're a hot dog person, you're going to buy the hot dogs. Otherwise, you would have probably forgot about them altogether. This is a notion that should be followed by marketers across the world. And Storylane is one of the best ways to implement that, with or without opt-ins, free trials for everyone, my opinion.
There's this study that McDonald's did where they give people different things at the door. And sometimes it was like food, because you're going to McDonald's for food. And sometimes it was not food. And the reason to not give food is that you're like, oh, maybe people will order less because we like satiate their hunger. But actually, people appreciate it so much that you've like helped them with their exact problem, that they were ordering more McDonald's food when they got the free yogurt. So anyway, that's a fun anecdote, which I use often when I'm trying to convince people that internally that we should have, like, it's okay to give away some of the software.
Well, we talked about food, and one of the side stories here is like Matt has been a chef, right? This early on, he started right after school. Probably he was a chef, and that probably fed into some of the customer centricity that we see from you, Matt, today.
Yeah, maybe so. Maybe so. Thanks. Yeah, I started off in the kitchen when I was 14 years old, and did that for over a decade. And then tech was calling me after my son was born. It's not a good job. Let's just say being an executive chef is a bad job for a dad if you want to see your kid ever. So, yeah. But I appreciate my past in that part, in the culinary arts. I mean, the creativity, the systems thinking, the problem solving parlays all the way through everything I've done here in tech.
So maybe actually, before we wrap up, right, we have just 5 minutes going into the final minute. But for solution engineers out there, what is the few pieces of advice you have to really, for them to be awesome in their jobs? Right.
The only piece of advice I would have that I think could mean everything is think wide. Or maybe learn wide, because everybody has to learn. And what I mean by that is, if you can make yourself learn, not everybody has an easy time learning. So it's got to be something you like. That's the other thing. You have to like something about it, right? You got to find something you like about it. I have massive ADD. Sorry. I do. And so I find it difficult to find things that I like, but I find it really easy to find things that I like long term, but I find it easy to find lots of things I like. So it works kind of perfect for me. Not everybody's like, but because of my work and needing to go wide because it's the way it's how I feel good. I think I've become a pretty effective business oriented solution consultant in the sense that I understand all sorts of businesses and I can connect the dots between them. I can connect the dots between the ingredients of different code, different languages, different use cases of architecture, how to think about architecture. This is just like building a dish, and it's only because I've learned a little bit of code. And I'm not saying you should become a crazy coder. Like, you can learn a little bit of code, learn a little bit of Excel and spreadsheets. You can learn a little bit of UI, UX. I could go on down the list. There's so many things, but you don't get overwhelmed because you don't have to go super deep to connect the dots and become a great solution engineer quickly.
Well, that's great. And also the second thing you keep touching on is the customer centricity, which is what actually shows up in the slide, which Shauntle will wrap up with.
Yeah. From a sales standpoint, I mean, Shauntle, go for it.
No, you go. You're our guest.
I was just going to say, I think there is a serious problem with sales. And this is like a sad note, right? Serious problem with sales is that a lot of people think it's about tactics. A lot of people think it's about tricking people or having the best closing lines or the best close plan. And all these things are okay. But really, sales is not about any of that. It's about being confident and being convicted that you're going to be helping the person on the other side, that you know them well, you know what's ailing them, and you know you can help them along with that. And if you feel that way about what you are selling, sales is no longer a sales thing. It's a help thing. And generally, I believe that most people like to help other people. And so you can become a really, really good salesperson with fantastic tonality, without having to train on it, without having to go learn all the tactics, by simply understanding what you're selling, who you're speaking to, and why this is going to help that person, and just getting some conviction in that. So helping customers is everything. Customer journey is everything in my book. So
awesome.
Yeah. I'm pretty amazed by how much of the prospect to customer journey your team impacts. Like, it goes all the way from we've never heard of Altify and we're looking at our first product demo on the website through enabling customers based on their persona. Like, that's a big scope. So, we talked about all this, and just to wrap it all up in a beautiful bow, that Matt and the Altify team basically have used interactive demo software for conferences. It's on their website. They have this amazing instantaneous demo flow that I think everyone should try. And then, the BDR follow-up is so magical. They use demos in the sales process, both for that like really early stage first demo conversation with sales, all the way through really serious like proof of concepts and pilot enablement across all of the people that they sell to, which is so fantastic. And yeah, saves y'all a lot of time. You can do other fun stuff with your time. Let's see. We have one last minute if anyone has a question. Otherwise, we can call it. I think we're good. Cool. Matt, thank you so much. To those who joined us today, thank you. Please connect with us on LinkedIn. We'd love to hear from you after this.
Thanks,
Thank you all.
Great.
It was
Take care, everyone.
wonderful being here. Thank you.